Hi, everybody. I'm David Pipe, mortgage agent here in Guelph. I'm here with my co-host Rob Kent, expert realtor, also from Guelph. Today, we want to talk with you a little bit more about whether or not you should buy or rent. So, obviously, in our business, a lot of people talk about how they get to buying their first home or their second home. But the truth is that buying isn't always the right answer. So, let's talk through some of the pros and cons. What you're going to see today is, first of all, we're going to talk about a little bit of the market. We're going to go through the pros and cons of buying, as well as the pros and cons of renting. And then we'll tell you sort of how to decide and what makes most sense for you. So, with that in mind, Rob, why don't we kick it over to you and tell us a little bit more about the market?
Yep. So yeah, a little bit about the market. So right now, it's a little bit of a volatile market. I mean, we've seen interest rates go up steadily over the last year. So I'm sure it's going through a lot of people's minds. Whether to keep renting or is it better to buy? Should I wait? What should we do? I mean, the one thing I can tell you is that it's very expensive to rent in Guelph. So Guelph has the eighth highest average rent in Canada, and this is as of December 2022. So just very recent. And for a two-bedroom apartment, the average rent is about 2350, let's say, a month. And for a two-bedroom apartment condo, very similar, the average mortgage payment, let's say with 5% down, would be approximately 2,800. So I mean, there's not that much difference in that aspect. Renting versus buying, when it comes right down to it, it just comes down to your lifestyle and what it is that you're looking for. So David, tell us a little bit about the pros and cons of renting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to start off with renting, obviously, renting is the option people think of first, and there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages to renting. And for some, it's in fact the perfect way to find your home forever, and for others, it's a path to get to something different if that's what they wanted to do. Talking through the pros, first of all, number one is it's the best in flexibility. With renting, you're going to have the chance to be able to come and go as you please. If your job situation or your family situation changes, buying a house isn't right for you because you may face penalties from ending your mortgage early or having to sell. So if you expect that you might need flexibility, renting can be a really advantageous way to do it. Secondly, the commitment's shorter. So, they will tell you, and you ask an expert, how long do I have to live in the house after I bought it? Or how long do I have to own a house for it to, go up in value? Especially when you account for the costs, right? The transaction costs of moving, the pain and suffering that you go through when you have to move and all the things you have to spend money on. So renting, you can often get into a much shorter commitment. Your leases started around usually 1 year. And beyond that, you would be on a month-to-month contract with. Usually 60 days is fairly common. So you definitely get a shorter commitment. The third thing is maintenance and repair. So if your budget doesn't have room for maintenance or repair costs, or if the idea of replacing a furnace or an air conditioner or a roof or even a refrigerator would be a problem, you really don't have to worry about that when you're renting. So you can get into a home, you can enjoy it, and when it comes to getting the work done that has to get done, as long as you're keeping up with the property's general cleanliness and repair, you don't have to get into any serious maintenance. So that's a really great advantage of renting. Along with the idea of cost, the upfront costs. So that the biggest one that a lot of homeowners face, or a lot of prospective homeowners, is the down payment. So there's really no upfront cost comparison. If I was going to rent, then all I really need is my deposit, which is usually the last month's rent, as well as my first month's rent when it's ready, and versus a down payment on a house, which as Rob talked about, the down payment can be significant. 5% of the purchase price is the bare minimum. So you do have a chance to reduce your upfront costs. And lastly, that might give you a chance to live in a neighborhood that maybe you couldn't afford to buy a house in, or you wouldn't want to buy a house in because of the commitment. So renting can often be a way to get the benefit of a nice home in a nice neighborhood, where you would not have to worry about as much of the cost or as much of the expense as you would have with buying. Now, flipping the coin to the cons, obviously there's downside to renting, and it's not for everybody. Number one is that you're going to be paying somebody else's mortgage. So in that way, you're about half of a mortgage payment that the landlord's making is going to principal and half to interest, as a rough estimate when you first start. So that means that every month, a big portion of your rent is actually going into equity for the homeowner, which is sort of their payment for putting this house up for rent. So in that way, you're not going to get that value from paying down their mortgage. The second thing is that there's a chance that the landlord won't renew your lease, or that eventually they'll want to end your lease when you don't want to move out. So, there are circumstances where, of course, the landlord can't make you move, but there are many circumstances where they can. So, if the landlord wants to use the property for their own family, or if there's some other circumstance that complies with the laws in your area, there's a chance you could be asked to move out. And so, if you love the place and want to stay forever, you're not really guaranteed that that will happen. The third one ties into the first point, is that, and when you rent, although it could be cheaper, you're not getting the benefit of that wealth creation. So you're not putting money down in equity each month into your own property, and that means that you're not building up this value under your under your assets. It's not a problem. It just means that you'll have to consider other ways to invest, taking that money and purchasing some other sort of investment, or setting money aside in your RSP or some other investment that makes sense for you. And the fourth one is really about, you just might have some rules that you don't like. So you might not be able to paint in some cases, which seems strange, but it's very likely that the landlord's going to have some requirement that you not make major modifications to the property, not make changes. And if you're the kind of person that wants to upgrade and wants to do cool things with your backyard or your basement or whatever, you're not going to have the chance to do that as a guarantee in most rental situations. And then lastly, as far as costs go, while you're not going to have to face the cost of maintenance and repairs, it's pretty much guaranteed that sooner or later all rent will go up, and landlords are entitled to raise the rent on an annual basis, at least in Ontario, set forth by the guidelines. So the rent increases are not massive every year, but they will add up, and it's not gonna stop. So as long as you live there, you're going to keep paying. So you can't pay off your mortgage like you can in a rental and reduce your costs. You have to basically just keep paying as long as you rent. So as far as pros and cons go, it's again not a perfect situation either way, but renting can be a really great option for some people when it makes sense. Rob, what about you? What are the pros and cons of buying?
Yeah, so I mean, some of the pros and cons of buying, a pro would be the ability to build equity in, in purchasing your home. I mean, real estate is fairly safe investment, and while you're making your mortgage payments, you're building equity along the way. Whereas, if you're renting, the landlord is building the equity, and not the tenant, right? So I mean, that's a huge pro for buying potential rental income. So again, you're the landlord. You have the ability, whether it's renting out a part of your home, basement or something like that, or even purchasing a rental property and then finding tenants to pay for your mortgage. Again, it's ways of finding the ability to build a generational wealth through real estate, and then the freedom to renovate. So if you're a tenant, you have to get permission to paint inside, or a lot of the things. There's a lot of restrictions on the outside, even if you're in a condo, But for the most part, when you own your home, you're free to renovate if you need, or upgrade. You can upgrade your home, paint, refreshen it up, just make your home. You have the ability to make your home the way you want it. Whereas, there can be some restrictions on that while you're renting. Now, of course, with pros, there's always cons. So some of the cons of maybe buying a home would be the increased monthly payments if interest rates go up. I mean, there's always that possibility. So if you're in a variable rate, and most recently, where we saw interest rates go up, now a lot of your monthly payment is going to be going towards interest rather than the principal. So that's definitely a con that maybe some people don't really maybe look into, right, or look at. The possibility of unexpected costly repairs, like David said before. If your furnace goes down, or you need a new stove, you need a new fridge, you need a new roof. That is now on you as a homeowner to do that. And if you're a tenant, you don't have to necessarily worry too much about that. Mind you, you'd have to worry about your landlord wanting to do that. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. But as a homeowner, you want to stay on top of these things, so that these maintenance and repairs don't build up. You want to try and um, stay in front of them. It's like car maintenance. You're going to maintain your car, you're going to change your oil. So it's certain things in the house. Make sure that you're keeping on top of things. And ongoing costs, including property taxes and insurance. So these are things that you're going to be paying year in, year out. You know Property taxes, most of the time property taxes will only go up. So and insurance. So David, now we've been talking about renting versus buying. So how would they decide like what would they need to do to decide what's going to be best for them?
Yeah. So ultimately, there's no perfect answer. So if you expected that you'd get the be all end all answer here, the truth is there's no perfect answer to this question, and it really is situational. And in fact, even throughout your lifetime, it might change what the right answer is for you. So the first thing that you should consider is seek local expertise. Find people in your circles or find people in your community that you can trust with. Understanding some of the how these advantages and disadvantages might apply to you. So, for example, if you're want to understand more about real estate values, talk to your realtor, get referrals from a realtor. If you want to understand more about where the markets are going on rates, then talk to your preferred mortgage broker or find somebody in those industries that you can trust to give you that advice and to give you some insight as well. Once you want to go out and learn more and you want to connect with these people and you're not sure who you could talk to, then asking questions, really, that's what it's about. So ask questions when you meet with a new real estate agent or a mortgage broker or even the lawyer or, even a repair person. There's someone that can be doing work on the house. Ask questions, read reviews, like do your research. Don't just necessarily go with the first person that, you find when you do a Google search. Definitely read more about them and see if they're the right fit for you. And one of the ways to find that out is look for that matching communication. So it seems like it may not be a big deal, but really is. So find somebody that you can connect with, that you feel that you can ask the questions of, and you get the answers that make sense, and someone that is communicating in a way that makes sense for you. So they're responsive. They'll respond to you in a way that fits you. So if you like to talk on the phone, they're fine to talk on the phone. If you want to meet in person, find somebody that communicates with you in a way that helps you to feel good about the process. And ultimately, when it all comes down to it, these, we're talking about, in this case, mortgage brokers like myself and real estate agents like Rob, they should have your best interest in mind. Really make sure that, when you ask questions and you're looking for something, some information, that they're giving the information to you in a way that helps you to make great decisions. So whether it's, which house makes sense for you, which repair should you do first, which mortgage rate or which option, make sure that, you get the real feeling that they have your best interest in mind. And if you're not sure, ask questions, right? Understand how it works, because this is a big commitment and we want to make sure that, you have an opportunity to, ask all those questions. So really that's how you would decide sort of what makes the most sense for you. And, with that in mind, Rob, how about you just give us a sense of where people could go from here?
Yeah. So, I mean, here you can contact us. If you have any questions at all or you'd like more information, you can, reach out to us, either give us a call. Our numbers are there, text us, email, whatever, you're comfortable with. We're happy to help give you more information. If you know anybody else who might want to check this information out, feel free to forward this to them. We're going to have some more videos coming up. Check us out and, subscribe,